And we are back. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Channel 135 podcast. This is the show we talk about our favorite things in life, movies, TV series, and pop culture. I'm your host Cams, and I'm here with the usos. We've got from our host from the Counter-Ruck, our rugby union podcast, Stacey. What's up, man?
Supples, good to be back on. Haven't been on since Chief of War, but been following you guys, doing a good job. Cheers, boys.
Thanks for jumping on, man. Yep. We are doing a good job, the best job around. And we've got also from, he's a regular from our NRL podcast, the 135 Footy Show. We got Bobby. What's up, man?
What's up, usos? How's it going? Good to jump onto this PLURIBUS, brother. It's a crazy-ass show. Good to review another TV show after Chief of War.
Yeah, man, and even after Alien Earth, you're a big sci-fi fan.
Oh, so that's right.
Good to have you on. Okay, boys, this podcast, the Channel 135, is brought to you by the WesWes Network. Check out our website, www.weswesnet.com, for all our articles and links to all the rest of our podcasts on the network. And also like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, the WesWes Movies and TV YouTube channel, right there. Okay, we are here to talk about the TV show PLURIBUS that's on Apple TV. Rebranded Apple TV. They lost the plus. No more plus now. It's called Apple TV now. The rebrand. So, yeah, man, we're talking about PLURIBUS episode 5, Got Milk. That came out last Thursday. A day early because of Thanksgiving. I saw. So, I think it's back to Fridays now. In the States. Or Thursdays in the States, which is Friday our time. Here in New Zealand. So, yeah, man, we're here to talk about PLURIBUS episode 5. But first, man, since you guys are fresh and new into this series we're about to talk about, I want to get you guys' opinion on this series as a whole, man. How's this 5 episodes in? How is it going for you? I'll start with you, Bob.
Yeah, man. I only watched it because of that recommendation that you sent via the chat. I had heard nothing about it. I hadn't seen any sort of promotional material, which is kind of common really with these Apple Plus shows, unless you have Apple Plus or you have any sort of promotional material that's to do with Apple, then you'll see all of that sort of stuff. But I went into this not knowing what the hell it was going to be about. And even 5 episodes in, you still kind of think, what is this really about? Like, you got those real deep philosophical, it kind of goes from being sci-fi to philosophy to weird ass craziness in between, and it's a real mix of genres, I feel. But I think the sci-fi element was right at the beginning with the whole, oh yeah, it's this radio signal from outer space, let's decode it. And I really enjoyed how they summed all of that up right at the beginning, where it was like, yeah, let's not make it too crazy. It was a radio signal that came. Some guy has this bright spark moment. I know, it's a protein sequence. Let's turn it into like a DNA thing, and let's start jabbing rats with it. And when all of that shit happened, I was thinking, okay, somehow whatever that thing is going to get out, and it's probably going to happen in this scene here. Some of it you kind of already know, given your experience and all of the other movies where it comes to like diseases that get out, outbreak, or the crazy monkeys, or the crazy rats that have bitten people, and how all of these sort of diseases get out. And so when they shed those rats, and then I was like, okay, the big difference was that it wasn't some crazy rage virus or a zombie virus. It was this biological thing. They don't even call themselves virus. They say that that's the closest thing to it, but it's not really. And it leaves you even more like, what the fuck? This thing is like self-aware, but I don't know. But it's like, well, the invasion of the body snatchers, but really polite. It's like there's no like it was all undercover, hush. They try to keep it under wraps. They kind of glazed over a lot of that stuff. I was like, oh, once the military started being aware, then we had to ramp it up. So the virus just spread real quick. And I like how they cut all of that shit out. Like they just get straight to this one character in the middle of this nowhere town, and they don't show any of the superpowers or the armies or the anything trying to who catch wind of it, and all of a sudden they're in some secret science bunker trying to figure out a cure for it, right? The whole premise of it is just these 12 or 13 odd people who are unaffected. And the thing about this series that I like is that whole hive mind thing. It's very Star Trek Borg-like. It's like, we are the Borg, but just not like the Borg. Like I said, they're way more nice, they're polite. It's like, when you become one of us. And then when I first started and I messaged you, Cam, I was like, I reckon I'd be like that guy who had Air Force One. I'm keeping it real, man. Like, you might think you'd be like the main character in the story, but I don't know, man. It's crazy to think that everyone in the world has everyone's memories, has everyone's skills, experiences, knowledge, and you're the only one that doesn't. Yeah, it's a crazy show. It's all still developing. I'm still at that stage where I'm trying to figure out, you always try and figure out what's going to be coming ahead. How are they going to fix this? If that's the end goal of this whole series, is it's going to go back? But they're starting to introduce some really interesting things, like with the last episode in episode 5. So it's going to answer some questions and then just ask even more crazy questions at the end of each episode, which is like what happened in episode 5. So it's like, oh well, let's see where this craziness takes us. But yeah, overall, it's been entertaining. Like, it hasn't been super in your face, but it's been asking questions, and it's keeping me sort of engaged just enough to want to watch the next episode. So that's what you kind of want out of shows. You kind of don't want them to be too confusing where you kind of fall off and you lose interest. You kind of want them to still keep you just engaged enough so that you want to watch the next episode. So that's my take on it so far, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, for me, I kind of got into this series because I knew that Vince Gillian, he was the writer for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and I was a big fan of those TV shows. And I knew he was going to make this new show, PLURIBUS, and he also wrote and directed a lot of episodes on the X-Files. So, he's got his roots in sci-fi as well. So when I heard that PLURIBUS was a sci-fi, it might be a good show, and he's a great writer as well. So, and you can see a lot of his writing come through with PLURIBUS. It's a mystery. If you think of all these other TV shows that are mysteries as well, like, what's the one with the plane that crashes? Lost. It's J.J. Abrams' concept of a mystery box, which every episode always asks more and more questions, right? It's a constant mystery, right? But I think everyone got disappointed at the end of that series because it didn't end well. It didn't end well. It was still a mystery. I think Vince Gillian has it bang on with this series, eh? It's a mystery. Every episode asks questions and we are intrigued. Sort of like a social experiment, right? Like, how do you make humans in the whole world efficient? Like, taking care of each other, being efficient with the food, the resources. Because if you think of the world of PLURIBUS, what we've seen now is a world where there's no capitalism, there's no wars. Every human being is helping each other. There's no sort of hierarchy anymore. It's that sort of thing. So I call it a social experiment.
Yeah, similar to you guys. I agree with both of what you guys said. I started off similar to where Bob was at. I didn't really know much about the show, what it's about. But what really drew me into the show is really the ambition behind it. So from the very first episode, you get this feeling that the show, it really trusts the audience. And you sort of touched on this a little bit as well, Bob. It doesn't really spoon feed you the plot. It doesn't over-explain itself. Instead, it just builds this slow, sort of deliberate world where everything means something. And if it takes a while to reveal itself, because we are 5 episodes in, and I'm still not sure what's going on, but that kind of confidence in the storytelling, I really enjoy that. That really grabs me. And similar to you, Cams, as well, you brought up a good point, which I agree with. A huge pull for me was Vince Gilligan. So you mentioned he did Breaking Bad, he did Better Call Saul. So he's earned that trust, and he's one of those few creators where, if he puts his name to something, you're going to get what you're getting now. These layered characters, some moral grey zones, grey areas, some slow burn tension, and just a world where every choice has weight. So, when I heard he was doing this new show, Pluribus, I was like, yep, I'm watching for sure. And just thinking about the actual show itself, it plays with some themes, themes of identity, community, and power. It feels grounded in the real world. So the way people organize themselves, they sort of choose sides, fall into groups, and justify their own version of the greater good. So you think about that from a Polynesian perspective, a WesWes Network perspective, that tension between individuality and collective identity, it hits even harder because it reflects sort of conversations that we have in our own communities around, doing what's best for yourself versus doing what's best for your whole family type thing and all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad as a network we can cover a show like Pluribus and give that Polynesian perspective as well. So loving the show.
Nice. Hey, man, you guys have got any thoughts about what will Pluribus be like in Samoa? What does that look like even? Man, like no more...
No more corruption.
No more corruption. Probably Manu Samoa will be
the Manu Samoa starts winning some games.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's
a lot of you think there's a lot of loopholes, A lot of loopholes in this kind of hive mind around the world. Because you think of a global event, right? It's a global event. Only 11 people or 12 people are immune, and they're trying to figure out why they're immune and to bring them over to their side. Like, what does the rest of the world look like? This is a view of what happens in America. I'm sure, it's American life that they've changed around with the hive mind. But yeah, what does it look like in other countries? What does it look like in like the Pacific Islands or Africa or something like that? Interesting.
Yeah, they should put that in the show though, actually, showing these other perspectives of in Africa, all these people have abandoned, their traditions and all the rest of it and are following this same way. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like, actually. So good, I agree with that.
All right, boys, time to do the spoiler alert. So, man, if you guys out there haven't watched Pluribus episode 5 yet, I suggest you stop this podcast right now. Go to Apple TV and watch episode 5, Got Milk. We're about to do the WesWes recap.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Alright, episode 5, Got Milk, directed by Gordon Smith, written by Ariel Levine. After Zosia is returned to the hospital, the Inkia Lakshmi, one of the immune, calls Carol and berates her for disrupting the hive. Carol has a nap, during which the entire Albuquerque population departs, leaving a recorded message telling Carol they need space from her. She records a video message to the other 12 immune, explaining what she's learned and asking for their help. And trying to prevent wolves from digging into her garbage, she takes her trash to town and discovers a large number of empty milk cartons from a local dairy. She investigates and finds that instead of milk, the dairy was producing a strange fluid created from a bagged crystalline substance. Carol performs tests on the bagged substance, recording her observations in a video to the immune. She thinks the hive drinks it to maintain the hive mind. The wolves return for more food and attempt to dig up Helen's body. Carol scares them away with her police car and lays heavy tiles over the grave to protect it. After finding a barcode on the bag, she traces its origin to a local food packaging plant and discovers something shocking hidden under a tarpaulin. And that was your WesWes Network recap. Alright, boys, start with you, Stace. Man, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode a lot, and I thought it was a real turning point in the show. So the first 4 episodes were all about sort of world building, slowly letting us understand how the society works, how people fit into the structure, and what the show is trying to say about identity and unity. But episode 5 is where things start to get a bit more interesting. So, what stood out for me is how this episode fits, how it shifts from simply showing us the world to actually now exposing some of the cracks in it. So you see Carol going around doing her investigations, and you can see some potential loopholes in what they're doing, even though from the outside looking in, it looks, these guys are on the right path. So we're starting to see that tension just inside the system, and the hive mind, and some of the individuals as well, some of the tensions in them, with them just leaving the whole city and all the rest of it. So I think it's a good hinge episode. It feels like everything before it was sort of like a setup, and everything after it will be about the consequences. So I thought it was a good sort of calm before the storm type of episode. But you can feel the pressure building now. So I'm just really hanging out for episode 6. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode overall.
Seki, how about you, Bob?
Yeah, similar to Stace. I like the cliffhanger because it makes you want to see what's happening in the next episode. But it was funny, that whole world building, and then they just sort of snatch it away when they all bugger off and leave her by herself. I was thinking, you know what? I kind of actually preferred having the weird people around, because, man, that whole isolation aspect of being the only person alive on the world, or all those kinds of I Am Legend type sort of vibes, that would really suck. Like, I think, it's a social experiment, like you say and you refer to. You need to socialize with other people, even in the state that they're in. That's where you kind of get that interaction, which then allows you to sort of see perspectives from these infected people, if that's what they are, to the people that are unaffected by the virus, and then the different perspectives amongst those people. You saw the dynamics in those earlier episodes of all those people that were unaffected. You had, like, everyone else sort of had family, but the one guy that was sort of similar to Carol is just living his best life, man. He's got like this little harem of girls that he's just flying around the world. We're gonna go to Vegas now. You know what was stupid about that whole I'm gonna go to Vegas? It's like, everywhere these unaffected people go, like, all the affected people need to kind of come in and vibe around where those people are, because otherwise they'd be doing what I guess ants would do in a colony, just getting along with life, keeping food in the most efficient places. But now this guy wants to come to Vegas, so it's like, oh shit, we got to turn on all the lights now to this desert city. Oh, he wants all the poker machines, he wants to come and gamble, or whatever it is that he wants to do in Las Vegas. All of the ant people, I'm going to call them, now have to come and entertain these unaffected guys and make them happy. That whole weird sort of theme that's coming through is, hi Carol, hi, we just want to make you happy. Hi, whoever all those other people are, just want to make you happy. But because Carol doesn't have that, doesn't have family, doesn't have the same wants as that crazy guy who wants to fly around Air Force One, you get to see her wanting to interact more with Zosha, or whatever the girl's name is, that protected her from blowing up with the grenade. And so yeah, that whole craziness about where she asks, would you give me a nuclear bomb? Well, we would weigh it up, but if it's what makes you happy, yes, it's weird. It's got this funny wanting to please these unaffected people, but wanting to please without any sort of they don't think about the consequences of what they're doing. If it's going to please this person, I'm going to do it for them, no matter how immoral, no matter how weird the request or crazy and completely not common sense. That they'll still do it. Episode 5 for me was a real contrast when everyone sort of left, and then there was that whole leave a voicemail after they'd been, all up in her face, and now it's like, our feelings haven't changed for you, Carol, but leave a message, and all of that sort of stuff. That whole craziness with the those coyotes or wolves or whatever they were, trying to dig up her partner in the backyard. I kind of think that sort of was a foreshadowing of what happened at the end. You know, the whole wolves, they're trying to survive. They're going to come and dig up the dead body in the thing. And even though they don't show that these are dead human bodies in the freezer, that they're turning into powder to add to water and drink, you know, that's the foreshadowing I got from that whole wolf trying to eat her partner. And then these guys are eating dead people. So are they wolves? Are they just being like what nature would intend, you know, not being wasteful with resources? Because in the end, we're just flesh, you know, we're just meat, just with consciences. And the whole time I'm watching the series, I'm thinking, why? Two things. Why can't they infect animals? It would be too hard to sort of go down that route and make animals walk around normally, I guess. I don't know. Why are these guys not affected? Is there something, you know? So the whole time I'm trying to figure out, why are they unaffected? How's this guy gonna make these guys become like the rest of the ant people? You know? Yeah, interesting. Like, I like the cliffhanger, and you know, making you want to, you know, super keen to watch the next episode, because what was under that tarp? My mind says it's frozen dead people because they're super efficient with not being wasteful, but who knows? I don't know.
Nah, that's a good point. So I like your point about and I want to put a pin on that. What do you think it was in the tarpaulin at the end? But yeah, your point about that being dead bodies. Like, when I think about all the dead bodies around the world after the first event, you know, if you're driving your car or doing something active and next minute you're having a fit and then you die, you know, how many millions of people die there? And then when Carol in episode 2, I think, she got angry at Zosha and she had a fit too, and then everyone else had a fit, and then she said after the fit finished, 8 million people died because of that fit around the world, you know. So it's like, what do you do with all these dead bodies, right? And we saw in episode 2 how when we first see Zosha, she's in Morocco and she's helping clean up the dead bodies, putting it in the truck. I mean, they're putting the bodies in trucks, so you think where those trucks are going, maybe to these places where they're making that liquid, eh? So yeah, that's a good.
That was a milk truck as well, so that was some foreshadowing right there that they put those dead bodies in. That was one of those dairy milk trucks, yeah. So that was a foreshadowing right there of what's going to happen in this episode. It's those little things that Vince Gilligan's really good at. So yeah, the details. That was one of those dairy whip, whatever it was called, milk trucks.
Yeah, I like this episode. I like this episode like I liked episode 3. Episode 3 was when they filled up that grocery store again. Because I thought that scene was crazy. Like, oh yeah, so shall I come back on Friday? No, we'll be there shortly. And she goes outside, all the trucks show up, everyone comes, fills up all the shelves. See, that scene was crazy, and that episode was crazy. Like, after that episode, I was thinking, man, this show is crazy, man. This was a good episode. This episode was kind of the same. It's funny, because that grocery store scene to me was funny. This episode was funny as well, with everyone taking off from the city, leaving her alone. And then I was thinking, fuck, this is crack up. Like, this is so crazy. And it was kind of like they had a tantrum, or they were giving her the silent treatment, because she did what she did with Zosha, and they were like chanting around her, Carol, please, Carol, please, Carol, please. So they were obviously angry at her, and you could feel it in when this episode starts. They weren't talking to her. She came to see Zosha, and she asked the nurse there, "Oh, is she all right?" And the nurse just looked at her, "Yeah, she's all right," and then walked off. And then, you know, they left the message. They won't even talk to her, eh? Won't even talk to her life. They'll just leave a message for her. So yeah, she made she made them unhappy. First time we've seen that, eh? First time we've seen the hive unhappy. And so that's give her space. So they practically left her alone. So I think that's why she had this time to investigate stuff. Because I think if it was populated, I think she would have had a hard time to find out the things that she found out in this episode. Like, man, she went into detective mode, eh? She went to detective mode. See, it's interesting because it's real subtle how she found out one thing after the other. She finds the milk cartons, Then she finds the bag. She sees the label on the bag. She goes, gets another bag, a dog food bag, and it looks the same. The bag looks the same, and got the same label on there. That's how she gets to that place where she finds the tarpaulin. So, man, I love this episode. That was a good episode. Probably one of the best episodes so far for me, anyway. Some of these scenes, man, like, let's talk about in the beginning. So she gets this call from that in gear chick. She's pissed off, eh? We know there's other people like her around. We see that in gear chick. We know about that black dude that's he's partying up in Las Vegas. But what about the other dude, eh? The other dude in Paraguay. He's in a similar place as Carol, eh? Like, he doesn't want to do anything with the hive. He's in his own world. If they hook up, I wonder what's gonna happen there. Because if you thought Carol was mean and she was like independent, doing her own thing, but this guy in Paraguay, he's like another level, eh? He doesn't want to eat their food. he's licking cans.
They've put heaps of obstacles in front of all of these characters, and you sort of think, well, how are they going to connect? This guy's in a different country. He doesn't want to do anything with any of the ant people, and he doesn't even want their food. The guy's eating dog food, and he's not taking any calls. And it wasn't until Carol rang him up and swore at him, then he's like, oh shit, that's a different person. And not just the geography of where he is, but the language barrier, but also they ain't got no skills, man. This guy is the security guard at a storage facility. So it's like, okay, and now you're going to go team up with an author, a book writer. Just saying it out loud makes you think, fuck, how are they going to save the world if that's what their goal is, to try and, beat the collective minds of all the finest scientists and biologists in the world who are working 24/7 to try and get these 12, 13 people to join them. That's their whole goal. Is, they alluded to it, biologically, we're just trying to spread, like what viruses do, like that World War Z movie where you had all those crazy guys running around with the virus because they were just wanting to spread the virus, And that's exactly what these guys are doing, just in a not scary World War Z way. They wanted to come in, pass you to their team. So it's like, yeah, is that how you're going to spread the virus? So it's interesting. So yeah, those obstacles, those barriers, in my mind are like, well, fuck, he's going to have to do some amazing writing to convert these two people who don't have the skill set, you would think, to achieve much of freaking anything on a, never mind a global scale that they're trying to. Let's just try in her little town, and he's not even wanting to go outside his storage facility gates. So it's like, how are you going to overcome that? How are they going to overcome these barriers that are set? The physical ones, the don't want to interact, now she can't even do shit because people have buggered off everywhere. But you got to keep in the back of your mind that right at the beginning they said, yeah, well, we're working really hard to try and get you to be us. And then don't forget that, man, because that whenever they say it really nice, but it sounds freaking scary, man. When they say that, it's like, shit, losing your individuality, losing your what makes you to become them, and then we're all us. The pronoun people are going to get crazy with this with this TV series. But yeah, it's just it's a lot to process, but it is a lot more to even, like, never mind the story and the craziness of what PLURIBUS is about, but just even trying to think of solutions to some of these problems that the 5 episodes have already sort of put before you. It's like, oh, shit, how are they going to do that? The other 10 people don't want to do anything to hurt their family members because they still think that those people are their family members. They're still connected to it. They still have those connections, whereas Carol doesn't. But yeah, it's a cool series in that respect, because then you're still trying to figure out oh shit, how's he going to write solutions to some of these things? Because I can't see them being the Terminators in the next, 4 episodes. How many episodes is this first season? Or 9 or however many? Yeah.
You raised a good question there. Like, what is the end game then? Hey, what is the end game of this hive mind? Like, is this someone seeing the potential humans can be? If you see what we're doing to the world right now, with all the wars going on, with all the pollution and all that kind of stuff, consumerism, we're just putting to waste a lot of things on this earth, right? So this is a way to fix all that. This is actually what the hive is, a solution to all the world's problems, right? But we sacrifice our individual selves in doing that.
So jump in also, I was going to say, I've been thinking about that a bit, like, trying to understand what the show's about and come up with all sorts of possible interpretations. But, at the start, with the start you mentioned how they opened the show, I thought it was about alien invasion. Then I thought, nah, it's not. It's about this evil virus with these sinister motivations. But, just with this episode, in my opinion, it highlights what I think the heart of the show's about. Just this clash between, what it means to be human and what it means to sort of be efficient. So to me, is it the hive mind about, humanity is actually, the human race is a big problem and we can fix it. We can fix wars, no more famine, no more poverty, no more homelessness, no more hate, none of that stuff. We can fix it. But to fix it, the cost is going to be you have to give up your own individuality, your own humanity, everything that makes you who you are. That's the cost of fixing it. And just keep on exploring that grey area. So I thought that this show showed a lot of that. You think about, like Bob, you talked about a really good point about that scene with the wolves. So, you think about Carol, she just rushes out and she's like, tries to take on these wolves and she realized, oh, holy shit, that was a massive mistake. She's in this position where she could potentially get eaten herself. But, that speaks about her own humanity and who she is as a person. She goes out and rushes out, not out of logic, but out of love, out of sentiment, out of protecting Helen's dignity. Those traits that the hive mind just doesn't have. They've completely abandoned all of those things. So Carol's actions highlight, what's at stake. Are you more empathetic or are you just going to be really efficient and store all the food and all the rest of it and all that sort of stuff? So it's the humanity versus the collectivism of it all. So I hope that's what the show's about, just exploring that moral grey area and the fibre of that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how it all plays out.
It could mean like this is what this is what they have to take for the humans to do good around the world. Well,
That's
we
what I
must
think
have a
it's
hive
about.
mind. I mean, otherwise there's no hope. Like, we're not gonna do that. So we're gonna keep on doing what we're doing, and the Earth's gonna, we're gonna, we probably won't last the next 10,000 years.
There's no crime. They don't need any police. There's no crime. There's no wars. There's no one's starving. No one's freaking homeless. Everyone's sorted, But to fix it to that level, you have to give up your own humanity and your own individuality, like you talked about, Bob. So I'm sort of leaning towards that perspective of what the show's about.
Yeah.
I still like the Star Trek take on it, where it's not about a pursuit of like land or money. Or in Star Trek, the pursuit is now about knowledge. So there's no more wars. There's no more. Well, there's still crime, but like in the general sense, Earth is at peace, right? The whole of Earth is peacetime, and it's considered like a holiday destination in the universe for other alien races. And now everyone's coming to join the Federation. That's probably a more realistic way of trying to approach it, where you abandoned the pursuits of individual wealth or empire building, and now it's just about knowledge. Everyone's reaching for the stars now. They're trying to get to other worlds. They're trying to expand the human race that way through, seeking more knowledge. That's how we're going to better the human race, is if we know more, if we can explore and discover more. this pluribus is like, well, it's an interesting take on trying to get humanity to be more efficient. Like, I suppose they're like Vulcans. They're they're very efficient in how it is that they're doing it. And you know, from a logical perspective, well, this person is dead now, and if I don't be emotional about it, we can still use the flesh, and most of these people will be strangers anyway. Like, you know, if it's not your loved one, you know, it's kind of like when those kids crashed on that mountain, and the only way to survive is by eating their friends. You know, that's how they had to survive. And these guys now are, and you know, they allude to it. We don't know if it's frozen dead bodies, but you know, the big, oh my god, you know, and the crow eating out of that bag. I was like, oh, crow's like a bird of death. Crows are always hovering over like war and battle scenes, plucking out eyeballs and eating all the dead corpses. And you know, crows are, whenever you see a crow, it's never good. It's a never good sign to see a crow. And so when I saw that crow picking out of that bag, I was like, wow, there's another foreshadowing of something bad happening. It's never a good thing when you see a freaking crow flying around squawking. You know, you saw a crow in, was it 28 days later? You know, it's the crow that's picking out stuff, and then the blood drips down and in that guy's eye and instantly rage fire. So yeah, man, there's a lot happening in this episode, in episode 5. But again, it's like I really want there to be some sort of glimmer of hope, because at the moment there's no glimmer, man. There's only Carol and her struggles to try and figure out what's going on. Other people are not really giving a shit because they want to keep the status quo because they've still got their family members, or like that guy who had jack shit. Now he's got everything, anything he ever wanted. So why would he want things to go back to when he was a nobody, when now he's a absolute somebody to everyone else in the whole world? So yeah, it's sort of, yes, that's where it gets into that whole philosophical realm of trying to figure out, shit, what would I really do? Yeah, I reckon I'd be like the Air Force One guy, but really? Because you're sleeping with these girls who have all of your family members' memories and stuff. Yeah, so it's like, do you really want that, bro? Hive mind, they all know you in different ways. So yeah, when I kind of, oh shit, actually delved into that a little bit deeper, then it was like, oh, maybe not, maybe not.
Now, look, you're right, man. You got the crows, you know, a lot of foreshadowing, man, and a lot of clues to make you think what's under that tarpaulin. But you know, we know it's dead bodies, eh? We know that powder's made from dead bodies. Or is it one of these things where the writer wants us to know that, and then he'll change it next episode or something else?
But what does that mean if it is dead bodies? Is that something that does that mean that the virus is sinister and sort of evil? There's got nefarious plans, or does that just mean, you know, there's efficiencies in eating dead bodies? What does that mean going forward? And I think that's the thing, because you think about the hive mind when they did that exodus from the whole city, but they've got access to the top CIA operatives and the military bloody advisors and that, who can come up with these great strategies. They wouldn't leave all their evidence behind, surely. They would know if they left it there behind and got discovered that they can explain it in a practical way that would probably help to bring the rest over to their side. So I'm not sure. No, the reason why I say that is I'm not sure it's nefarious is what I was thinking. At first I thought this virus is evil. How do we fix it, like you said, Bob? But now I'm not convinced that that's the truth. And they left it there because they can explain it in a practical sense.
This is what I think might happen next episode. So I think it's going to be dead bodies. She's going to be, she's shocked, and she's going to be like sending more videotapes on those drones out to everybody. I found dead bodies. But then the hive will come back and say, well, you know, there's like hundreds of millions of people, dead bodies around. Like we need to be efficient, just like you said, Bob. Like we can create this liquid that will help us. I think that'll be the excuse if it is that. And then it'll be
I
like
think,
a non-issue. They'll make it a non-issue, just like they made other things non-issues, right?
Yeah. I like, and we talked about this a bit earlier, like Vince Gilligan, how he's the man, but the way he creates a show, and you touched on something earlier, Bob, which I sort of agree with, but everything is really meticulously planned, and everything's there for a reason. So it's sort of hard to speak about certain scenes in isolation, but just going back to that scene with the wolves at Carol's house, and how they tried to dig up Helen's grave. So to me, that's sort of like symbolism at play there. That you think about that cliffhanger ending at that dog food factory, but Carol's gasp at the end, how she saw those dead bodies and they're trying to extract that food. But just thinking about that as a theory, the wolves digging up food as well. That they don't care about the sentimentality of it all, which is what Helen cares about, which is what Carol cares about as a human. They don't care about that. They're just trying to get food. They're trying to be efficient with their food. So I thought that scene was put in there for this reason. It symbolizes what the hive is doing. They're not sentimental about anything. They don't care about, your rituals around death and all the rest of it, preserving the dignity of a loved one. This is efficient. This is what the wolves represent as well. So I thought that was symbolism for what happened at the end. So I thought that's why that scene was in there with the wolves. It was sort of like the wolves are a representation of that hive mind. We don't care about how sentimental, how much you loved your loved one. We just see this as food and we're just going to extract it for this reason. And I think the hive mind has a similar mentality. So I think that's why that scene was in there. But I think those two scenes were quite intertwined.
No, it's great because the first time the wolves show up, that gets Carol to take the trash out, and she finds the empty milk cans in the bin there. So without those wolves in the first place, that wouldn't have happened.
The thing that I don't understand is like she's got a shotgun now. Whenever I imagine these like apocalypse type scenarios happening, man, I know exactly where all the gun stores are in Auckland. I'm like, oh yeah, the ones on Waida Road and the shore, the ones out in Penrose, we're on the way to the Warriors game. I'm like, man, I'm gonna beeline straight to if I can't get to a police station, I'm gonna get to one of those gun shops because that's where all the weapons are. And all the movies you watch where all of these kind of apocalypse scenarios happen, people are arming themselves. And The Walking Dead did a good job of initially the enemy was zombies, right? And then the story evolved to, well, it's not the undead guys you need to worry about, it's the crazy humans that are still left behind. And so even though we're 5 episodes in, and I don't know how many days it is now on the TV show, but man, she kind of trusted them real easy after losing her shit in that first episode. That whole trust building came back real quick for me, and I'm like, girl, I would be like Fort Knox. It'll be like, Rambo, get me the M60, and then if all of those crazy fools are gonna come and supply you with weapons, supply me with weapons, because I don't know when. I don't know jack shit about what's happened to you, and I don't know if you're going to lose your shit and all of a sudden just come and try and kill me in my sleep. It's like, I'm going to barricade my house. I'm going to, if I can do something, I'm going to go find dogs to come and patrol inside my whale. I don't know. It doesn't look like animals are affected by this virus, but yeah, I kind of felt that element of it was that whole, you just started to trust them, and it was only like 24 hours, 2 days, however long it was. Nah, man, I'd still be losing my shit even after a week. If it didn't matter how polite they were, it's like, oh yeah, I'll kill one person just to see what happens. It's like, okay, they're just gonna come and take the body away, take him down to the milk manufacturing plant,
and they'll circle you and say, please, Bob, please, Bob, please, Bob.
Stay away. I've got my M60. Don't circle me, or there's going to be a whole lot of dead bodies around you. But then you don't really want to do that because, but they established real early that they're that they're not going to get violent towards you or they don't want to hurt you. But again, that's what they say. And it's like, man, I ain't falling for that banana in the tailpipe trick, man. It's like, no, I don't want to drop my guard around any of you fools. Nah, just because they're smiling, they're still zombies, man. They're still pod people. They're still infected. They just doesn't matter how super nice or normal they seem. The world is fucked up, and you can't just instantly drop your guard like Carol kind of has already now into episode 5. And I know.
So are you saying like if you're in that situation, you'll be somewhere in between Carol and the guy in Paraguay?
Yeah, probably. You know, fuck. And you know, especially if my family members were still around and
French guy, brother.
they were acting weird.
You'd be the French guy.
Nah,
Stace will be the French guy.
because I don't. That's another thing. I don't understand how all of those guys that still have their family members
Hard out.
still act like it's okay. Yeah, because they've seen the craziness of the world. They obviously know that their family members are acting strangely or whatever. But, you know, Carol tried to point it out to that Lakshmi girl. Like, oh, okay. You know, if I was performing heart surgery, would I use a da-da-da? And then the little boy's like, well, it all depends. And then she's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, well, he's a heart surgeon. He knows everything in the world. He's not just your son now. He's everybody. And so that whole part of the show, I was thinking, nah, man, there's too much craziness happening. In my mind, I was thinking, it's interesting. They got a whole lot of indigenous people to be the survivors, right? Like, and the people that can speak English are the Chinese and the Korean and the Colombian and the Indian. I was like, really? You couldn't find any like other white people survivors to come in and be part of your gang of English speakers? I found that super interesting that she's the only Palangi. So I was like, oh, okay. Is that purposely done? I don't know why that was done, but maybe it's because other Palangis would start killing their own family members. If they came and started acting weird like that. But we'll see.
But see, I find it cool that you could have everybody's memories. Every single job out there you have experience straight away. You'll know how to do everything. You know how to do every profession. You know how to do everything in the world. Right? But because you're in part of the hive, you can't use it to your advantage, sort of thing, right? You're going to just go with the flow of everyone.
There is no advantage.
So, yeah, that's right.
It's an efficient thing to know everyone's knowledge.
You're just a cog in the wheel. And sort of thing.
And I find that crazy. Like, how is that hive mind connected? Like, that's the science fiction part of it all for me. Is like, okay, I understand the biological part, the virus spreading, how it's been spread with spit. Okay, I get that. How are they connected? You know, they haven't really sort of explored that part for me. You know, Star Trek, the Borg. Okay, I understand the Borg. They're all connected to the hive via the Queen. Like, the Queen is the one that sends out all these crazy signals, and she's part of the one that makes the collective the collective. You know, everyone's connected to the Queen, and then thus the collective is what they are in the Borg. But, you know, that part of the science fiction thing for me still hasn't really explained itself. It's like, okay, I understand the virus. I understand how it's being spread. They haven't explained the science fiction-y part about how the hive mind is the hive mind. Like, how does the virus do that? I didn't even know that humans had that capability or capacity to connect minds like this just with a virus, because you've never seen it before in any sort of virus that we know of. So how all of a sudden now with this random radio waves, like, is it a radio wave thing that our brains are connected? I don't know. It was a radio wave that came from outer space. Is it like that? Like, are we connected that way? Are there some towers that are sending out signals that are making all these people connected? See? Is it something like that?
And I guess we got 4 more episodes to go, right? So I guess each episode will give us a little bit of breadcrumbs there. And we probably won't even get the full picture in the last episode because they might end up with cliffhanger and there's going to be a season 2. So, but remember in the first episode they said it's going to take a few months to clean up the earth of all the dead bodies around. That's stage 1 of the plan, right? And then they're going to try and get those 12 into the hive. So we don't know what happens after that. If stage 1 is to dispose of all those bodies around the world, what is stage 2? So we don't even know what the plan is, the final plan. What this hive's meant to be doing.
Did they explain why Helen died?
I thought she bumped her head when she fell.
Yeah,
Is that why?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't mind.
I was like,
but yeah, I think they.
Because I was thinking, okay, why did Helen not get up after having the seizure and everyone else in the bar? And I was thinking, what's wrong with her? Like, I didn't catch that she fell and smacked her head.
And even those what do you call it? Those chemtrails. Remember she looked up in the sky and those chemtrails of those planes.
Oh yeah, all flying in like a line.
Yeah,
what is going on? All of
were
those
they spreading
planes.
the DNA in the air or something? I don't know.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah. Final thoughts of this episode. You got any Stace?
Yeah, just loving the show, man. I thought it was a really good episode. I think we've reached like a crucial moment where PLURIBUS starting to show a bit of its true hand. So up until now, the show's been a bit mysterious. It's been quite unsettling, atmospheric in a way. But I thought this episode, turns all of that into something a bit more sharper, something a little bit more dangerous. So this is the episode where we get some of the payoff from that slow burn start. So, what I love about PLURIBUS is just how confidently it just builds that tension. It doesn't need these big action scenes or anything like that. Just everything is done through the behavior, some of the symbolism, which we talked about earlier, and just these small sort of unsettling choices. So this is what Vince Gilligan does really well. He trusts the audience to pick up on a lot of these things. So he's always excelled at that. So just letting a lot of the ordinary moments feel ominous because there's something bigger lurking underneath. So I mentioned this before, but I've jumped through all sorts of possible interpretations of what the show's about, how they're going to get out of these situations and all the rest of it. But yeah, I'm sticking to what I said earlier. This episode, in my opinion, it just highlights what I think the show is about, the heart of the show. Just that clash between raw human emotion and that cold, collective efficiency of the hive. So, you look at what Carol and what she's doing. She represents everything fragile and I guess beautiful about individual humanity. We saw her, she was grieving over her loved one, Helen. We see the love that she had, the memory that she holds deeply, how she rushed out for the wolves just to protect her dignity. And the hive sort of embodies the opposite. There's a lot of practicality there. There's not much empathy for the dead people if that dead body's prediction is correct. And it feels like episode 5 sort of makes it clear that these two opposing views, these two forces are on a bit of a collision course. So I talked about this a bit at the start, but Vince Gilligan, he is amazing at operating in these morally grey areas. So if you think about Breaking Bad, which he did, you can't help but put yourself in Walter White's shoes. So he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's got like a few months left to live. He's got a mortgage. He's got a wife that won't be able to keep up with all the bills on her single pay. And, he's got a special needs son. So, when he passes, he's leaving his family in the shit. And that sort of blurs the line of what's sort of morally acceptable, what he's prepared to do to help out his family. So the show continues in this exploration of this moral fiber. And I hope that that's what PLURIBUS is about. I think it's about, we can fix the human race. We can end all the poverty. We can end the war. We can end famine, crime. You've overuse of resources, reaching too high, overextending your greed, your capitalism, which you talked about, Cams. Every issue that mankind has faced, we can fix it with this virus. But the cost of fixing it is it's going to be your own humanity, your own individuality. and the show's just going to continue to explore that morally grey area of it all. So I think that's what it's about, and I hope that's what it's about, because this would be a real interesting story, and it's going to be really original, and it's just going to add to Vince Gilligan and his lore as a storyteller. So yeah, enjoying the show and the whole episode.
Yeah, the style that Vince Gilligan always uses in the stuff is that show and don't tell. Like if you think of Breaking Bad,
Yeah,
like there's a lot of
exactly.
episodes where they have a plan, but then you never know what the plan is. You have to watch the whole episode, and then you get the plan at the end. You're like, what the hell is these guys doing? And you don't know what's going on until the very end, and you're like, click, that's right. There's a lot of those kind of episodes, I think Breaking Bad, and that's just great. That's just great writing there, man. So PLURIBUS does the same too.
But
Like,
even that scene,
it's a mystery all the
that
time.
scene that scene we talked about with the episode 2 where they're loading the bodies up, and then I didn't realize this at the time. Like, who notices this? But yeah, someone pointed out, and then when I was just watching out that that was one of those milk trucks that Carol was went through. So it's those little details that he pays off 2-3 episodes later, and you get to see all those little things make sense. So Vince Gilligan, man, he's a master. I'm only watching the show for that reason, just for him.
And I bet you, if you watch the show from the start again, episode 1, 2, and onwards, if you watch it again, you'll pick up more of the stuff there. You probably,
Yeah,
everyone's
I watched
probably
Breaking
drinking
Bad
that
twice
carton of
'cause
milk every
it's
episode.
so good. That's right, probably. Yeah.
You probably see a carton of milk, everyone's drinking that. You never noticed it. The final thoughts of this episode 5, Bob?
Yeah, it was a good episode, bro. I really enjoy the suspense again. That whole cliffhanger thing at the end. Well, that's a good take, Stace, on it. That really does make you apply that whole philosophical lens over those grey areas and those themes that the show's going to explore, and that the show is going to continue to explore with the remaining episodes. I was just having a thought, just as Stace was talking about. You know what? If they figure out how to convert all of those guys, the only people that are going to be safe are Carol and the Paraguay guy. That French guy probably could too, but he surrounds himself with too many of these people. And then everyone else has family members who are bound to just, hey, yeah, I'm gonna jab you with this, and then you're part of our hive mind. So there's only really a very small number of those characters that they've introduced that I think are going to have any real impact on being able to change what is now the status quo around the earth. Yeah, but the episode was cool. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of drama. There was a lot of funny scenes, that, like you pointed out, Cam, her being by herself for me was funny because of how she reacted to it. She's like, well, fuck you then. Leave me alone then. But then you kind of see the whole, well, now that she's by herself, that whole being alone, she's going to start to feel that real quick, I think. Because she's already a little bit loopy, already a little bit nuts. But yeah, I guess if you do rewatch it right from the beginning, you'll see all of those efficient things that they do. That lady trying to help, but realize she's not strong enough, and so the hive says, "Oh, we'll replace you with the guy who's coming off the bike because he's stronger to lift the kingo up onto and you jump on the bike and you go ride it out to over here and jump on the plane and pilot it to wherever." Yeah, it's been a good series so far, PLURIBUS, and I'm really enjoying it. So looking forward to the next episode.
Nice, boys. We're going to end this with who won the episode. Let's start with you, Stace.
Well, it was pretty hard because I think Bob's I Am Legend reference was quite correct. I think there's really only one character in this, of basically 99% of the show. So I'm going to go for the obvious answer. I'll go for Carol as the standout character. I think this was possibly her most important episode so far. So this was the moment where, some of her instincts, her humanity, which I talked about earlier, and her courage, I thought it separated her from all the other survivors. We talked about the Indian lady and some of the rest of them, that French dude. they're basically slipping into that hive behavior, and they're operating in these denial. It feels like. So it's like Carol represents the last spark of individual thought in a world that's becoming uniform and hive like. So I thought that emotional weight that she carries made her stand out. You know, she's grieving, she's isolated, she's noticing things that no one else seems willing to investigate or even confront. So instead of shutting down or surrendering, which is what a lot of people do, she's become more curious. And her willingness to follow that curiosity, even in some potentially dangerous territory, like that dog food factory which you talked about, that shows how deeply human she still is. She's scared, but she's pushing forward anyway. So I like that grave scene we talked about before with Helen. That talks a lot about her character. She risked her life to protect Helen's body from those wolves, not out of logic, but out of sentimentality type thing. So and dignity for the dead. So those are traits that I think the hive mind has lost in their collective efficiency. So I think Carol's actions, in a way, it highlights what's at stake in the show. There's the empathy of being human versus that efficiency which the hive mind operates with. So just the individualism versus the collectivism. So I thought that was she won this episode for sure.
Yep, being the only practically the only one on the episode, which means who lost the episode will be the hive mind. You agree, Bob?
Yeah, I agree. You pointed it out before that, them leaving. I think that was a whole plot device for her to go and be flippin' detective to try and figure out what was going on, and she was able to answer a few of those questions that she posed herself. And just from throwing rubbish away, throwing rubbish. Oh, there's milk cartons everywhere. Oh, now I'm curious as to why there's milk cartons everywhere. So yeah, like she was able to uncover and discover some things about the hive mind people, the ant people. And so I don't know whether that's good knowledge to know or not. These guys haven't really shown any sort of animosity towards her, and they surround her and start crying around her to try and peer pressure her into not asking how to get rid of them. That can be a bit creepy. We don't want to hurt you, but we're going to surround you and cry. It's like, even that would have been a bit, hey, you aren't hurting me, but okay, I'm getting a little bit intimidated because there's now 100 people around me all chanting my name. And please, Carol, please, Carol, please, Carol. Say, okay. Yeah, but Carol was the winner, bro.
I think another reason why the hive mind lost this episode is because they couldn't even fly that drone that sort of crashed on the light pole. But then again, Carol didn't listen to instructions and didn't weigh the bag.
But that was a crucial scene because you see then the rubbish falls onto the floor. So she picks the rubbish up and takes it to the public rubbish bins. When she puts it in the public rubbish bins, that's where she finds the milk cartons. That leads her to the sleuth mentality of trying to figure out what happened. So it was that sequence of events which led her to where she's got to. So it seems like a small, insignificant scene at the time, but that was crucial for her finding those milk cartons. So it was a crucial element of the show. But I just think about something you said earlier, like Bobby, like how trying to figure out how Carol and potentially Minusos figure it out. But let's just say hypothetically they do figure it out. Then they return Earth or the world back to normal like it is now. Like imagine if you were poor or if you were starving, if you were homeless, if you were depression and all the rest of it, which is, to be fair, we're talking about billions of people who fall into that boat. You think they'll be pissed off that they were happy and then you sort of stuffed, they were happy, they were fed, they were sweet as, and then you sort of stuffed it up for them. So did you really fix anything? Did you make it even worse? And that's the sort of the moral grey area where it's heading into, where let's just say hypothetically Carol figures it out. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Do you think they'll still have that awareness?
Oh, that's another good question.
After the fact, if they go back to normal.
Yeah, like
That's
if
another.
they're
That's
able to
a good
flip it
question. I didn't
and
think
get
of it.
that things back. Yeah, because I liked how they touch on, oh, we've got a whole wing full of the drug addicts, people that, you know, they have to look after because there's physically the bodies, you know, addicts' bodies, and so they're trying to recover from their addictions, and so they can't function. They're part of the hive mind, but they can't function as part of the ant colony because their bodies physically are unable to. So I was like, oh, that's interesting how they touched on that and they highlighted that. Like they specifically mentioned that the whole wing for the addiction people. It's like, oh, okay, that's going to come up somewhere somehow. I'm sure.
So what about
yeah.
you're right. It brings up other questions. Hey, what happens to the elderly? How do humans reproduce? Like,
Yeah.
how's that process work? So yeah,
Reproduce with themselves.
Peter's Stace has dropped off, so there must be a sign, bro. But
Yeah, bro.
that's us for this episode of Channel 135. Thanks for listening, and yeah, man, it's a good show. It's man, I'd say that's one of the best shows in 2025. Could be the best show in 2025. There's been a lot of good shows this year, and looking forward to doing our Channel 135 year in review, TV show year in review. But thanks, Bob, for jumping on. Thanks, Stace, for jumping on too. If you're listening, see you guys back here if you want next week. All right, have a good week. Bye.
So.